your door closed?
Yep.
Because did you put a tie on the outside to ward off demons, but also to tell your roommate
Ward
that
off
you mean
demons?
business?
It's usually blood for demons, and I have no roommate. And if
Is it sprites?
Sprites?
Sprites, tiny mythical fairy tale creatures of sorts.
I hope not.
Lastly, but most importantly, fuck you.
At least we got that out the way. Alright, welcome to Brother Sip.
I already sipped.
And talk shit. I did. That was actually my second sip. We discuss all things horror and foreign films. What are you drinking on tonight?
I am still cruising on that 4-pack of Grolsch, and I'm Grolsching it. I actually enjoy this bottle even more now because it's green and it reminds me of Heineken, which reminds me of home.
Home. Terrible but true.
My father drank Heineken.
Lots of it. Not lots was the problem, but he just enjoyed Heineken.
Yeah.
As do
Not
most
in
of our
a-
people.
Not in an addictive kind of way, more of a fun, easy, Like I like chewing bubble gum.
I'm drinking Robert Mondavi Private Selection Cabernet Sauvignon, Monterey County, 2018. It's aged in bourbon barrels. Went for a red with flavor of bourbon. So
Thank you for telling everyone that you're a millennial living on your own,
well,
your best life.
I'm trying to just live.
It's
foolish.
Yes, that is very true. We are just trying to live. Hit him with that. Hit him with that. Can I live?
Well, I'm T, and I saw Nightmare on Elm Street, the series.
I'm V, and I equivalently saw it, but I'm fairly certain it was only 2 years ago. So that would make it like 30 years old by the time I watched it.
I'm talking
which
about
I feel like.
TV series, not the film series.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why I
I'm
said
V.
it.
I'm V, and I watched the Scream TV series.
No, it's all right. You already committed to seeing the
was-
wrong Nightmare on Elm Street. You didn't even know. See, I just got
I
you
didn't
fucked
even
up.
know. I had something I need to watch. I feel like at the time it was either watch that Nightmare on Elm Street TV show or Tales of the Crypt, and I was already pretty scared from Tales of the Crypt.
Yeah,
It was horrifying.
Tales from the Crypt is
Horrifying.
It's pretty damn good.
We should watch some Tales of the Crypt on this shit.
Let's save it because that's one of my movies is Tales from the Crypt collection for you. So
Even better.
I've thought about it being the next one, so we're gonna discuss that. Well, we're back here on another evening, largely due
Good evening.
to the change in work and lifestyles because as things go with the big C floating around combined with protests and reminding people that Black Lives Matter, V is back at work, so we didn't do a morning session, we did another evening session.
That is correct. I'm back. Pro tip, guys. Nobody wants to talk to you at work. Nobody wants to. No, we don't want to talk to you. I'm gonna be very honest. I'll appease you, but I really don't want to talk to you. If I want to talk to you, I'll reach out to you. For anyone listening, and those who I want to talk to, I've reached out. Thank you. Public service announcement for my mental well-being.
Fair enough. Can't knock it. Keep that mental health right. Today we are discussing The Strangers. It is a 2008 movie. Director Brian Bertino. He's done a couple more recent films as well. Some of them are pretty popular. One called The Monster and even more so The Black Coat's Daughter. I have not seen that, but I've heard a lot of good things about it. So many words. This film was originally called The Faces. It is a home invasion film that's shot in what I like almost say like a God perspective. Like you kind of get this over your shoulder view outside of what the main characters are seeing, and you're not actually seeing it per se from the killer's view. You just have a completely different view as if you're a silent third person in the room that gets to completely observe things, almost like a surveillance camera, so to speak. And it follows Kristen and James, this couple that's going through a failed marriage proposal post a wedding, and it just brings you where they're just silently driving out to a house where James had set it up to have a nice little thing set up for her. She said yes to the proposal, so this flower is all set up, and it's his family's old summer home, but clearly they're just there to just be there for the night. They were getting ready to go on a trip, and they decide against it now because she definitely turned him down. She definitely asked to wear the ring because it makes her feel pretty for the night. and he definitely doesn't want the ring anymore because it makes him feel bad. All this to say that they end up becoming the victims of someone knocking at the door asking for their friend Tamara. It's a girl, you can't see her face, it's kind of obscure, the light is out front. She ends up leaving, James ends up leaving because he doesn't want to stay there for the night, and the girl comes back, and she comes back with friends. Ends up being more or less 3 mass killers playing a game of now you see me, now you don't, slowly but surely breaking into this home and eventually killing both Kristen and James. It's an interesting cat and mouse. It's one of those things that say inspired by true stories, which really means that we saw something that sounded kind of cool and we put like 3 or 4 of them together and said, fuck it, we'll do. And it's based on the 1981 Kitty Cabin murders, where basically a whole family was killed. They couldn't find out who did it or why. And loosely based on the Manson family Tate murders, which goes to show that it's showing that sometimes murder is just pointless and it just happens just because. There's no real reason about it. The victims they just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. They didn't do anything wrong. They just happened to be there. And K Sarah Sarah. So that's my little minute crunch. What you got?
I would say that this was a stereotypical horror film that really just stuck with it. Like, I ordered a cheese pizza and I got a cheese pizza. There was no like flair to it, but I mean, still, cheese pizza still hits. Like, don't get me wrong. And I think that's what this film reminded me of. You did a pretty good summary, except I would say that feels like it takes place in all of like 3 hours. I think 3 hours only is all the time passes by, which adds an interesting anxiety and pressure to the film that I truly enjoyed. But yeah, you hit it right on the head of kind of the description there. Because again, I'll be very frank. This was just like you order the cheese pizza, you're gonna get a cheese pizza. There was nothing. This wasn't like goat cheese with like a little balsamic glaze. No, it's just cheese pizza.
It is very much so a straightforward home invasion slasher fic. It's done so well to me. I mean, I loved it. Like I've loved this movie for a long time, and I love it because it's so simple. I don't know if I want to corrupt you first. I want to hear what you say, and then I'll fluff it up. What do you want to do? You want to flip a coin on this one?
No. I can talk about this one because I feel as though I'm going to conflict with you. I mean, I was very meh about this film. It wasn't that interesting. There was no interesting.
And then I'll let you tell it, and then I'll tell you why I enjoyed it.
And yeah, and I'm very curious on your answer, but it is a pretty vanilla film. But deep down inside, which I want you to answer, is like the point of it to be vanilla as a way to be like a meta film? Because if so, I think I got that. Otherwise, am I just making things up? But this is a meta film, right? They're actually like playing fun at invasion films. This isn't supposed to be like this really serious thing going on. Or am I misreading this?
It's very straightforward, and if you think it's meta, it's because it's so straightforward. Because it does follow the formula 100%. You know what it
is that you're right. I don't even think it's a meta film. I think you're right. It's just like so straightforward that it tricked me into thinking, oh, there's gonna be some like weird twist, and then the ending's like, oh wait, is this when I talk about the ending? Because I always start with the ending, right?
No, you can go ahead.
Where they just kill them and go, why'd you do it? And they go, because you're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. It's just like, oh, this is literally just a film about 3 people tormenting people and then killing them at the end. Yeah. Like, it was so like blatantly just all out there. Like, the whole time you're thinking, you're like, man, is this some like weird meta? This is gonna be some weird shit. There's like points in the movie where I'm like, maybe the boyfriend's in on it and this is some sick joke. And it's like, nope. And then he comes, he's like, you're dead. And then there's a point where their friend shows up and you're like, all right, how's this gonna do it? And the friend dies in one of the quickest cameos, by the way. Shout outs to Dennis. Are we cool with shout outs? I remember last time I shouted out someone, you were like, fuck that shit.
No, I did not cut it out. No, I didn't cut that out.
Cut it out.
No, the last shout outs was because we mentioned awards and you claimed that you didn't, and then I went back to the tapes and you definitely mentioned it.
Correction. I shouted out a bunch of comic books and I never recall these comic books being mentioned again.
Oh no, I cut that out.
Yeah,
that got cut out. That one particular ended up on the cutting room floor, buddy.
Yes, yeah. He said just. Well, I did edit you out, jerk. But yeah, shout out to Dennis from Always Sunny. He plays this quick
Glenn Howerton, I believe.
Yeah, for all of what, like 7 minutes? No,
Strong,
it had to be like a strong 7 minutes.
maybe strong
Um,
5.
yeah, where it that was like one of the better pressure scenes in the film, where I was like, "Ooh, what's going to happen here? This is interesting." And what ends up happening is the boyfriend and the girlfriend, which I am terrible with names, so they're just going to be the boyfriend and the girlfriend.
Kristen and
At this,
James. Kristen and James. You can't get much more.
Kristen, yeah, it's true. K and J, they were so fucking freaked out that they pretty much just barricaded themselves in one room with a shotgun and pointed at the door. Obviously their best friend shows up, which you had no idea that there was gonna be another character, and he walks in and just gets shot in the face. Like the minute he gets out of the minute he pulls up, I'm like, this dude's gonna get shot in the face. Like, and it's just like a homage to what I've been saying. Is like it's extra vanilla. Like I could tell exactly what's happening, but at the same time, I wasn't bored by it. So it makes me think they did a decent job, or I just don't know enough about this genre. So I had these weird. I'm like so mixed on this one, especially when we get to like the ratings later.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say that was a cool scene, which I'm sorry I jumped to that. There was a whole bunch of other interesting things where the woman was in the house by herself for like 15 minutes, freaking the fuck out. And there's a lot of just like sick shit where they're just like knocking on doors. Like this film is recommended in surround sound. I would highly recommend it in
Oh,
surround
excellent
sound.
sounds.
Without surround sound, you're not getting the full like random noise here there within the room, because again, you're viewing through that God's eye. So hearing things from different angles is kind of interesting. But overall, I say that this is karma for that woman being just a terrible person.
Oh, she was awful. Like clearly she was out there having a
Terrible
ball and turned down the proposal and just ruined that man's night, ruined that man's life. He almost got it as bad as Cloverfield. I hate Cloverfield, for the record. I hate Cloverfield. And like when it came out, I went through there's a Facebook rant I have that maybe is like the precursor to this.
Be careful, man.
Where I
Don't
just
if this ever pops off, bro. You gotta be careful about those old Facebook and Twitter's tweets.
No,
my boy.
I went ham on it.
Got the boot, bro.
Oh yeah, I know. No more elongated, man. They're definitely going to add in
Plastic Man.
Yeah, they're definitely going to add in Plastic Man. That's my guess. That aside, no, it's 100%. I talk about how, and maybe we'll bring up Cloverfield one day. It's really poor decision making. Like he walked all the way from like Upper Manhattan to Brooklyn to go see a girl that broke up with him, that didn't want to deal with him at all, to go save her. And in the process, his brother dies because he just won't turn around and help his brother. And I was like, you're so trash. Beth was trash. All this trash. Cloverfield is terrible. I don't like Cloverfield.
That's almost as ridiculous as the Warriors when they go from.
They had no choice.
Yeah,
they had no choice,
Bronx, and they had to get to Coney Island.
They had no choice, though.
Which doesn't sound that bad, but in the 70s, that shit was kind of tough to
going
get to
going to Coney Island. It's terrible. Period. No one wants to go to Coney Island. People may hear this and you've never been to New York. Coney Island's out of the way if you live in Coney Island.
No matter where you pick. No matter where you are in New York, it'll take you 45 minutes to get to Coney Island.
45? 45? No, like 2 hours. No, that's too much. No, like Coney Island's not close to anything, man.
Anything at all. Anything in any shape or form.
Except Coney Island.
We digress. I want to hear I
digress.
Convince me why this is such a great film. Because convince me why you like it so much. You doesn't have to be a great film. Tell me why you like it so much. Yeah, because you're gonna tell me why it's a great film later. Tell me why you like this film so much.
I like this film because it is a home invasion film, and it's a simple home invasion film. There's no extra things that happen. There's nobody that comes through and saves the day. It's a very tight cast. You only got more or less 6 characters in the entire cast. The only other ones you see are the people that the boys that discovered the body. Is showed in the beginning and at the end. They're the only ones you have. So the whole film is centered on only 2 people that are talking. The rest is carried by these 3 other characters that have in total 4 lines.
This film, is that meta shit I've been talking about. That's that meta stuff.
But no,
do they really think this through, or is it like?
Well, it also mirrors. It also, do you know what the Manson murders are? Do you know about him going to the house and killing Sharon Tate and all the crazy stuff that went on with that?
I think I have a rough guesstimate of something about white people being crazy and killing other white people, which in the current times ain't that bad, but. I can see how it could be pretty messed up in the time it happened.
No, it's pretty crazy either way. Like, they ran up the house as Manson and four of his followers ran up into a house and they killed Sharon Tate, who was married to Roman Polanski at the time. And they were having just like a random house party. And
Oh, are you talking about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood changes the end of the events. In
I do know what you're talking about now.
You do know what I'm talking about, but in the real life, it ended up with a lot more death and murder. So there was no happy ending or out of that. So yes, that is referenced in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So
Okay, continue. I'm sorry.
It is in there. Like, it's just crazy. They wrote stuff on the wall. This is also what he thought was starting Helter Skelter and stuff like that. They were trying to kickstart Helter Skelter. The whole thing is a whole bunch of crazy stuff that goes into that. But the craziest thing is that they killed them for no reason. For no reason at all. It's senseless. The people were victims just because. She literally said, they were like, why us? Because you opened the door. You were home. Like, that's scarier than everything else. That goes to let you know how senseless violence can be. That someone can make the decision just the same way as Charles Manson made that decision to, I'm going to walk to this house, and it just happened to be Roman Polanski's wife. They didn't vet it out and say that's the place we're going to go. They went, and it's almost like they were supernaturally guided to there and ended up just killing these people. And the reason was it was a just cause it was your house, because your light was on. That's some fucked up shit. I also say that this film uses negative space in just about every way that you can, almost perfectly. There's negative spaces with sound, and it's not just jump scares. They use silence really well. And like you said, you should hear it in full surround sound. You should hear when they start banging on the doors like crazy, when they're scraping on the windows, and you can't see them anywhere, but it's always playing that point to the silence, that negative sound of silence.
My favorite auditory moments, like you said, were either complete silence or when there was a lot of different stuff going on. Like when the boyfriend was gone and you thought that she was about to die because they actually started breaking in, and then the record skips onto one note consistently over and over again.
Right.
It's like old. Like I did like the musical selection as always.
And keep in mind the record player was shown in the beginning, and the record player was shown at the end. And the record player kept on over there all the time.
And then she's just in the corner, manically depressing, and then the music stops, and you just hear footsteps walking towards it, and then you're like, I think that's going to be the boyfriend, but somehow they're still building me feel suspense. That's definitely going to be the boyfriend, right? No, this is a meta film, so there's got to be some big bad that's going to pop out here, and then lo and behold, it's the boyfriend. And I'm just like, vanilla film, of course, yes. But that was interesting.
What they did do, and I think is, I'm hard pressed to find a film that does this as good. They didn't do so. When I saw this originally, I saw it in theaters. 23 minutes into the film, you first see one of the three killers. It's the man in the mask, Dollface, and Pinup Girl. That's what we'll call him.
I thought the man in the mask had a better name.
No. I think it's
a cooler name.
No, I think it's just Man in the Mask. Okay. Man in Mask, I think, is actually what it is by all technical standpoint. When he makes the first appearance, which is the first appearance if you see someone actually in the mask, is this long shot where Kristen is going to go get a glass of water at the sink, and it steps away for a second, and it's just long, so you see the background is blurry, but it's there. And while she's stepping back and getting a cigarette off the table, getting ready to head to the sink, this guy just steps into the background. And honestly, if you're not paying attention, if you're too focused on her, you could miss it. But if you see it, and I know people saw it when I was in the theaters because everybody was like, oh, and he just walks into the background. He doesn't come and creep up on her. He just stands there. And she's going about her everyday shit. She's still worrying about the things that just happened with James leaving. She's going to get a cigarette. She's going to get a glass of water. She's over there trying to make herself feel relieved because the girl sounded like she was knocking on the door again. And dude is just standing in the background. And it's just out of focus. But it's very clear he's there. And then she moves a little bit far to the right. Just enough so it pulls a little bit out of the scene. And then you go back and he's gone. And they do this enough times in the film in enough powerful ways where they play this "Now You See Me," but the only people that see them is us. We're the only people that are at that perfect view to see her just going about her everyday thing. Because most horror films are going to just have you follow her view, like her view of things, and then you'll see the killer. Or even they'll give you the killer's view. Like other films would have had Michael Myers' killer view where you're looking at her. And you could tell that that person looking at her is the killer. Or you would have been strictly in her vision and you wouldn't have saw behind her and she would have turned around and saw him and it would have been a typical jump scare. But for a good portion of the film, this is just about these people creeping in and out of the thing. And I thought it was done so well. In addition to that, at the end, you don't know who the killers are. It's just a senseless killing. It just happens. Boyfriends are coming back there.
But no, we're going to talk about this ending and the useless screaming. Can we talk about how much this woman screams? She's screaming all the goddamn time. Everything. About screaming out everywhere. She's screaming this entire film.
Mm-hmm.
It was killing. And then from the end, the scene with her screaming, I was like, oh, this has to be a meta film. And I looked up and it's like, no, it's just a fucking regular film. It was bothering me. I couldn't get over this.
But that's what it is. You can't have a meta film unless you have the Blueprint films. This is a strong Blueprint film. And if you lose that sight, it makes you not appreciate it. There's things I had in my head like, why didn't she put on her fucking shoes? She had more than enough time to put on fucking shoes. But then you remind yourself, we're watching a slasher film. We're watching a home invasion film. And you can go back to where you think about Leslie Vernon. He said those are the rules.
Oh, they respect the rules. Shout out to the closets. They didn't
exactly. They didn't fuck with the closet. They broke the closet. They broke the closet, but then they walked away.
Right now, if there's one thing that I've taken away from this podcast is get the fuck in the closet. Immediately. That's all you got to do to survive. Just I'll be chilling. Just camp out there, man.
Just don't leave the closet.
And bring some Tic Tacs because there's gonna be a few of us in there, and I don't want no onion breath.
There's a couple things I did want to walk away with, a couple strong bits of information, right? There's a couple things I've learned, and you should always do this. When you're watching a typical horror film, they're going to be the typical horror film. The phone is not going to work.
Yeah.
The killers are always going to have a one-up and find a way into the home. You're always going to make that mistake and think you're getting out of there. Somebody's always going to trip and fall. At one point, they go to a shed, and Kristen goes to a shed, and she's trying to call for help and police. And I thought to myself, if I was at a CB radio, I wouldn't know what the fuck to call. That is one thing I want to know.
She started operating that thing. I was like, no way she knows how to operate that.
Well, I'll tell you what you walk away with right now. CB Radio Channel 9 is reserved for emergencies.
Duly noted. Did you look that up, or was that when 9 was on the dial?
I don't know if 9 was on the dial, but I thought to myself, how the fuck what I would do in that. I like to put myself in these horror movie situations. Like, what would I do? Like, they did a lot of things. Like, they were going to drive away like twice, but they went out their way to say we're in a really remote place, and that wasn't happening.
I give them credit when it comes to like, this is why they can't get away. Fuckery. There was a couple of them where I was like, yep, that would leave you stranded. Yep, indeedy. Yep, you would be effing stuck when they
destroyed their car.
Phones, when they took their cell phones.
When he first goes into the house, and so when we introduce the man in the mask, and he's in there, smoke detector that she had dropped is put into a chair right side up, and her phone is off the charger because she tried to plug up her phone and she tried to call the house phone. They cut the wire for the house phone, and she went to go look for her cell phone, and old boy had thrown her cell phone in the fire. Boyfriend gets back there, and he's trying to convince her nothing really is going on in the house, and then he realizes some odd shit is going on when they see one of the people outside. Goes to look for his phone. Dude came in and took the battery off the phone. They were like, all those things covered.
Logical decision making. I'd say overall, it wasn't like there was like bad decisions. I don't think they ever made a bad decision.
Except for her not putting on goddamn shoes. The second she started changing clothes, put on some motherfucking shoes. If some horror shit is going down, be prepared for a run. And you're probably going to have to run through the woods. And remember, CB Radio Channel 9 is for emergencies.
And this is like, this was tough because I think I already mentioned that I thought home invasion films was the only other horror films I really had seen before Nightmare on Elm Street.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought about it, and I actually only seen one. I was
Terrible.
like, yeah, I know so much about home invasion films. I can't
Terrible,
watch this
absolutely
shit.
terrible.
And I'm like, there's only one which I'm going to mention because it's dope. Is You're Next. Huge fan of that film. That was a little fun one. How do you feel about that film, real quick? Just like
I enjoyed Your Next, but
three
definitely
seconds.
meta. They it was great that they went for you're doing a home invasion film, but you ran into a survivalist, so you're fucked.
Which I thought was cool. That was like, how do you justify someone who's able to fight back? Well, they were survivalists in Australia. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Nah,
Like,
I can dig that.
but there was. It's interesting because I think Your Next came a couple of years after this, right? It wasn't in 2008. That was like 2010. I want to say.
Yeah, that was a little later.
A little bit later. But this film seemed like, I remember there being like a string of home, and like I remember, like, you know how horror goes in these through like trends year over year, like,
absolutely.
And I felt like home invasion was a big trend after the whole like torture porn life, and then from home invasion they then went to back into the supernatural with like Insidious,
Conjuring, Insidious, all that.
Yeah. So it was a weird year because I don't remember any really good ones, except for Your Next, and I guess this Strangers was like, it was good. It's just so vanilla, man, and the logical. I wasn't ready to watch a film where every character is actually making like logical decisions.
See,
It's
that's
very rational.
That's what makes it so good, because if you typically, we talk and you watch horror movies, people make bad decisions.
Horrifying. It makes it horrifying because even when you make the right decisions,
you're wrong.
End up still cashing it out.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the scariest horror films when it comes to like real life stuff. When you're doing everything right, like I do this. Whenever you say, "Why don't they just?" Oh yeah, okay, that's what I do. In City, well, you haven't seen Insidious, so I won't ruin that. There's a couple I won't ruin.
You can't ruin it. We still got to watch it at some point.
And you haven't seen Crawl, right?
Nah.
No. Okay. All right. I'll leave that.
I've for the record, let the record stand. Before I've started this podcast, here's the list of movies. This will only take me 10 seconds, I bet. Nightmare on Elm Street series, 13 Ghosts, Freddy vs. Jason, if that doesn't count in the Nightmare on Elm Street series.
It does count.
You're Next. Cabin in the Woods, Scream series.
You're about hitting max right now, ain't you?
And sound like hit you with the Morty real quick.
Terrible. Awful.
That's it. Huh? You know T. You know T. Oh, the one with the. I always forget the fucking name of this film. The one with Lawrence Fishburne, the outer space one. We've talked about it too many times.
Event Horizon. Side note on Event Horizon, they're re-releasing it, and I think they're gonna have the deleted scenes. I am so for it. They're restoring deleted scenes. I'm so for that. But that's a whole nother thing. I enjoy.
Sorry, Saw. So that's 7 films.
You just saw Saw though. You haven't seen the Saw series.
I think I saw 2 and Saw 4.
And you skipped one of the best ones. Saw 3 was real good.
I don't understand. I can't explain why. So that's 8 films. Urban Legends. I fucking love Urban Legends.
Really? Jesus Christ! Scraping the bottom of the barrel, dude.
Yeah, I'm like really.
That's from a very specific. I know what you did last summer while you're screaming about Urban Legends era of film. That was a very specific.
Yeah, that was a very specific.
Time.
Like
Jesus.
That's a hate pick if I ever seen it.
So
I'm trying to think that's so 10 films at best.
That's crazy.
So Hereditary, Midsommar. How could I have been so rude?
All in all, I liked it. But you see what I'm saying? Like it was a cheese pizza because it was a cheese pizza, but it was a very well made cheese pizza. I'm having
this tough. Like I had this moment where I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a meta film. I can feel it.
But the only reason meta films can exist is because you have the ones that do it right.
And maybe this was, and again, this is 2008, so that's right at that turning point to the home invasion film lifestyle.
Pre-Purge, like all that stuff. So
Purge don't count as a horror film. Don't be lying to these people.
Sometimes it does. I wanted it to. Let me say that.
If Purge is a horror film, then the other Ethan Hawke film with the vampires is a horror film too.
Jesus, I think
if you're just gonna start tossing Ethan Hawke films,
no, I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna.
What is it? Daywalkers or whatever it is. I don't even figure what that shit's
called. We'll just move on. We'll just move on and pretend it.
Okay, let me ask you this: as I was watching it, I thought I was thinking, man, if this is a meta film, it'd be really cool, and it wasn't. Then I was like, if there was some really cool shots. And you're right, there is some like off focus stuff that's interesting, but like overall, it wasn't like super impressive. And
I
I'm curious,
disagree.
is this guy's
I
like first film?
disagree. I disagree.
Is this like one of his earlier films? I wasn't really like super impressed with any shots. Like,
I don't agree with that at all. Like, I think the shots were so good. The shots that you see everything going on in the background, even when Dennis showed up, the fat old boy was behind him and creeping behind him with the axe, but they kept on switching the perspectives and him walking towards the door. In just the moment he walked in and tried to say hello and got shot in the face, when
yeah. Oh, he literally says head.
right, right.
He doesn't finish it. He could get the edge, and then they went straight for the man. No double tap needed. That was like,
Yeah, no, that's it.
yeah, that was straight. Turned the dome into a stadium, as they say.
It was his first film though. It was his first film, but I think even first film, I thought it was great. Now I will say, Strangers Pray at Night, the sequel sucks balls. Like sweaty,
Is it?
hairy,
And it's the same dude, right?
awful. Same dude produced it. I think there might be a different writer on it, but writer goes a long way. When you act like writers don't matter, but boy, oh boy, you want to talk about just like you took something I like and turn it to wah, 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 wah. That's when you could watch it and you think to yourself, maybe this one is supposed to be meta. Because
You know what's funny is
it
I
was
remember you
not
faintly
God.
telling me not to watch that film, and I almost accidentally watched that film anyways.
No, please don't.
Like,
I mean,
I still
you
almost
can.
clicked it
Mm.
because it was free. It was free to watch, so I'm like just interested to see how bad could it really be. How bad could it really be?
It's just disappointing because you those are the best type of horror films. One, when the villain isn't unmasked, and when they unmasked the villain, it meant it was time for them to die, and we still didn't see the villain unmasked, and the senselessness of it was great, and the way they were just fucking with them at every turn, just banging on doors and windows, sitting someplace and then bouncing and being out of frame, just always around. And they were never in a position. They were started off on a shitty day and they ended up on a shitty day. Like they just lost the entire time. That was not about them ever out. There wasn't a single moment where they outsmarted the three masked characters. It's just those are the scariest type of shits. And they were unprepared. It wasn't like, oh,
You know what? You know what was even funnier is they made all these logical decisions, and then there was a moment in the film where they remind you how dumb these people are, and it's not their fault. They're just dumb. It was when they needed to find the shotgun, and he's like, "I don't even know how to put this thing together." She goes, "I thought you went hunting." He's like, "It's just something I said."
Like,
oh god, they're
but
fucked.
the super fuck, yeah.
Right when he said that, I was like, "He's done. They're all dead." No one's survived this.
But that's realistic though. Like how many people know how to assemble a shotgun? Like that doesn't happen. So for you to be in that situation because it's so real, any other film they would have got the shotgun and they would have been shooting it sideways and going and doing all this crazy stuff to defend him. But that wasn't it. The only time he ever shot the shotgun, he shot once, it just went through the door. Second, he shot his friend in the face. So it shows the realism of it's so realistic. I think is what's so crazy. It's not some super demon. It's not some super unstoppable monster. It's just people being evil to people.
Sounds like life.
And isn't that the scariest thing?
That's the scariest part.
That's my thing. Is that's the scariest thing, and life is just life.
This film reminded me. I don't know. Have you ever seen Funny Games?
Yep.
This film reminded me of that tormenting level of like, just kill them already.
Yeah, like they can't.
Please just kill them. They can't win. There's no like after like a good like again with the minute when he said I can't put this shotgun together, which was like I think I was at like minute 45.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, they're dead. Just stop tormenting with them, please, please
like,
stop.
There's no hope.
Funny Games was good for that too, where it was just like, yeah, they don't.
But even when they won in Funny Games, they ended up losing because that was a weird sideways meta film in its own way.
Oh yeah, I only saw the remake, not the original.
Same thing.
One.
No, it both had it. They
Okay.
both had it where they rewind in it. So where they got to rewind the moment and end up surviving the villains, and they just kept on being villains. And why were they doing it? No good reason. They just felt like
exactly. It had remnants of that. So I would recommend anyone out there who's our 10th viewer of this, if you liked this film, I would recommend Funny Games. I think there's some
No,
similarities there.
Funny Games is great.
Check that out if you like. If you're digging these home invasion vibes with like they're not going to survive at the end. Like I'm gonna tell you that right now. Funny Games, they don't survive at the end, and it's still a great watch. Okay, cool. So I want to talk to you. I want to get to the questions because I actually have like 7 questions this go
Jesus
around.
Christ! All right.
I got a lot of stuff for you.
And before we get to your list, let's give everybody a quick reminder of the rating system. Rating system we use here is a simple 1, 2, or 3. 1 being I wouldn't tell anyone. You could throw the movie away. 2, I would watch it again, maybe with someone else who would understand, just that one guy that maybe would get it and like that type of film. 3, I would tell the world. Basically, I would say, yeah, check it out. If you like something like this, you'll like it. If you don't know if you like it, then watch it. 100%. Go ahead and have it out there.
So first and foremost, this being a home invasion film, what would you say if there was a classical film that you say is like the origin for where they were influenced? What would you recommend to our 10 listeners out there? Something you can clearly tell that this was influenced, by this classic film because of maybe it's the way that he was scooping that ice cream out of the thing because there's this vanilla ice cream, it's funny that I brought up vanilla ice cream because they literally eat a tub of vanilla ice cream this film.
They're fucking up that Bluebell. They are fucking up the Bluebell.
Fucking up that Bluebell vanilla ice cream. What is an old home invasion film that you can think of? Again, I say Funny Games because that's the one I think of. I'm curious what came to mind for you.
I will say When a Stranger Calls. If you don't know, it was remade. There was a second one put out. The original was in 1979. You like the beginning of Scream? The beginning of Scream was literally modeled after When a Stranger Calls. Because the first 15, 30 minutes of When a Stranger Calls is some of the most tense parts of the movie. That it could be the movie itself. It could be a short film and it could end after the first 30 minutes. The way that it keeps on going is even crazier. So Straw Dogs is another one. That's another old one that isn't too bad. I'd say
what from those films specifically?
When a Stranger Calls is 100% about the phone call and the feeling of someone being in the house and you're not being able to tell someone's in the house, someone knowing more than you or having that ominous feeling of someone else there. When a Stranger Calls definitely gives that off. 100%.
Okay.
Straw Dogs was more of a little bit more that random violence tip, like the why, and you sort of just get a just cuz answer. Just when you think it wouldn't go that crazy, it went that crazy, and it just keeps on going that crazy. There's even like another film is a good one. Well, it's not necessarily home invasion, but it's invading on people's space, like the senselessness of things, like Eden Lake.
Put it in the list.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen any of those films.
Mm-hmm.
What was your favorite clever tormenting thing they did?
I thought about that, believe it or not. I want to say the cell phones because it was the most creative thing to do. I almost want to say it was when Dollface was in the shed and shining the light over there, making it look like she didn't know what was going on, but she was just playing a spotter for the man in the mask.
They were calculated.
They were very calculated. But what I really think was the most fucked up thing. That was some
insurgency shit, bro. Yeah. That was some insurgency shit.
You know what I really think was the most fucked up part though is that after he accidentally killed his friend, they wrote "killer" on the window when he went to go walk out. So his day was already fucked up, and now you got to make him like, damn, fuck.
Real dick move.
I gotta be like, I gotta be all that now. Like, it's so mentally. Not only does he have to get over the fact that he did it, now they're mocking him for it.
What was the most realistic moment where you're like, yep, that's exactly how that shit would play out?
I'm always a fan of when people try to leave.
Why don't you set up this scene of when they tried to leave? Because I don't think we talked about it.
Well, yeah. So he eventually starts realizing. So James starts realizing there's some wild shit going on. So he's like, all right, fuck it, pack up. We're gonna get the fuck out of here. And he goes out and sees the girl out there. Oh, this is after they had seen the girl and she ended up running away. He was like, now fuck that. Let's go. Let's just leave. And he goes to the car. The wires cut in the car, so they can't start the car properly. The tires are flattened. The windows are all broken. And
What were they breaking those windows with? Was that a brick?
I don't know, but it's hella efficient.
Smashed through car windows with
hella efficiency, hell of efficiency. They actually say, "Fuck it, we're just gonna drive out this beat up car," and they go back out. And while they're backing out, one of the killers pulls up in a old Ford pickup, turns off the lights, and just hits the gas and just bangs out the back of the car. Meanwhile, the other killers on the other side kind of chasing them back into the house. It's realistic because they try to get out of there. They tried. I'll give them that. The saddest, most realistic part was how fucked up that situation was in the beginning. Like, clearly the dude tried to propose and she said no. And what I thought
that was the most horrifying.
It was.
Rejection.
It was. That shit was deep. The rejection and him setting up the whole house and having all that set together, and him trying to do that nice thing partially played to them losing and everything like that. The saddest part of all that is the drive in the beginning when they're pulling up and they're not saying anything. And I thought the irony of how they were in the house when they first got there, and you couldn't quite tell what was wrong. And then just from the context clues, you could tell that there was a proposal that was made at some point, and clearly it didn't go through. And they weren't touching each other. They were going to sit in the room. Like, there was that awkwardness of they didn't know how to do things. And he eventually just left. He was like, honestly, you just have the crib. I don't think we're going to go ahead and take this trip. I'm just going to go ahead and head out. And he leaves. That's real as shit. There wasn't any trying to make this shit work or anything like that. He bounced.
You already gave me your favorite shot, which was the water drinking over the shoulder.
Absolutely. 100%.
Right? Okay, cool.
100%.
What was your favorite cat in a trash can moment?
Oh, it had to be when he shot old boy in the face.
Oh, when he's head.
like in the silence, and he realized what the fuck he did, and he had to crawl out there. That shit was fucked up.
You know what? And that scene had to be 3 minutes long. It couldn't have been longer than 3 minutes.
Yeah.
That one scene. And the dude pulls up. I was like, I gotta phrase this real quick. Dude pulls up. Friend of the year. Pulls up at what has to be around 5:30 in the morning at this point, right?
Yeah, I would say about 5 something.
He calls him. It goes to voicemail. He says, "Hey man, I'm here. I know you said you came in the morning, but I just figured I'd show up." And he clicks. He starts walking towards it, and the first thing he sees is these cars that are
before he walks up through it, there's the mystery brick rock thing thrown through his car window. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he gets out and starts walking there.
Ah, okay. So they did throw a brick thing in there.
We don't know. Brick.
At that point, do you get out of the car, or you just back out? Do you just fuck your friend? What did you do?
I might have backed out and called frantically. I would have backed up in the middle of the night.
This is your best friend. Your best friend.
I would assume somebody was shooting the window. I would have at least cleared some space and called the police.
Your best friend. You wouldn't have got out of the car.
I would have thought I got shot in the window at that point. Would you have not? Like, the way that window was blown out by a still unknown thing, I would have thought somebody shot the window.
Come to find out, they're just all the man in the mask was an ex-MLB pitcher. That was just a fastball, buddy.
It might have been. Mike could have been.
Fastball, right?
Mike could have, woulda. Mike could have, woulda.
Okay, so he then gets out of the car and he starts walking forward. And what I enjoy is he's cautiously walking forward. He's not like, "Oh my God, what's going on?" No, he's just like, "This is weird." And it's like, you see two cars kind of beat up, and you're like, "Oh, damn, that looks kind of fucked up." But it's not anything that, like, you wouldn't think any harm was going. It just kind of looks like some fucked up shit happened to the car. And then he slowly starts creeping up, and there's a moment where he pauses right before he's on the back porch steps, where I think he thinks about not going up those stairs.
Yeah.
And there's just like a brief moment of clarity. He's like, "You know what? Maybe I shouldn't walk up these stairs."
Mm-hmm.
But then a wind kind of blows on the curtain, and he's like, "All right, let me go in there." He goes in, and they take a shot of homegirl standing the whole back time watching him.
And that's another one of them. That's the other shot I want to say was really good. That was really good. She just pulled out of shadows.
He walks in, and at this time there was no music playing, or was I forget if there was music playing for this scene.
Yeah, there was. Stop right before he got shot in the face, because that's what made him sort of stop for a second.
Yes. And he creeps to the door slowly, and your man with the hatchet is just like right behind him. And he turns around, and you think he's gonna get axed, but it's really they shot it in a way where you couldn't see he had made it to the door entrance.
Right.
And when he turns, he's actually not stopping the turn, he's stopping because he's at the door and he's going to peek in. And then he immediately goes, hey, boom, shot, dead, kaputs. That 3 minutes I thought was fun. That was my favorite portion of the film. Maybe it's because I don't know. That's it. That's his life. With that being said, was this the quickest cameo in movie history? Was there any movie cameo you can think of that was faster than that?
Maybe The Hunt. So we'll get to that later. Maybe The Hunt. There's like 2 other movies I've seen that had a slower entrance of people and a quicker exit. Maybe The Other Guys with The Rock and.
That was the one that came to my head.
Yeah, like
Other Guys, the greatest first 10 minutes in comedy history.
It was just out of aim for the bushes. Like
said it with it's so funny because those 2 characters were played so confidently by Samuel Jackson and Mr. Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Yeah, that was a pretty close one. And like I said, The Hunt has one, and then there's another film that I saw. I was like, and so we're just gonna take the most famous person out of the movie that quick.
Yeah, and the funny thing about this one, it was literally shot one scene 3 minutes. I ain't never seen it like that. I've seen quick cameos, but not like 3 minutes. He's done. Yeah. The minute he pulled up, I knew he was dead.
There was no hope for him. It was a solid rap. It was a solid rap off rake.
Yeah. So what do you got for rating?
I got a 3, and I say 3 because you call it vanilla, but I call it vanilla because if you want to see home invasion film that's not too intrusive, it's not filled with fake ass jump scares. It's just a really good, solid shot film.
I can't even let you stop. Let me stop you there. Wait, what? A 3?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, this is comical.
And I say a 3 because
what?
if you haven't
I wasn't
seen
expecting the 3 today, and now I truly believe you can defund the police because it is truly. I've been astonished today. It has given me inspiration in ways that I didn't even know things were possible.
I say it's a 3. I say it's a 3 because it's a solid home invasion film. Now keep in mind these ratings we're not doing for all the amazing things. We're just saying, do you watch it or not?
This ratings is about as real as Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Very true. So I give it, and again I say a light 3. I say if you're trying to see a good film, if you're just trying to see a good home invasion film, turn it on. It's better than The Purge, by far. You get what I'm saying? Like there are much worse home invasion films out there.
I like The First Purge.
The First Purge is the worst of them all.
We're
not talking about The Purge. I'm not doing that to myself. The first Purge was wasted potential.
He said, "There's a few things that are outlawed between us that we don't talk about anymore."
Cersei's the main character in that, so
yeah, there is fireworks popping off in the background. So I do apologize if y'all hear that shit. Sorry. I live in what you call hood adjacent. It's not really hood, but it's like adjacent to the hood, and that's the life of a gentrifier, I guess.
Terrible.
I don't know.
Terrible. So. As our time rolls, so like I said, it's a 3.
Okay,
it's
so
a light 3. I say check it out.
This is a light one. This is a light one.
A light,
very light
like
one.
A very low one.
This is a very low one.
Really, I
almost thought I almost gifted the first egg. I was like, Jesus. I was very close to gifting the very first egg. I was so close to giving that first egg, but after further review, I do like how logical it was. So therefore, it stays at the 1 because it was still interesting to see like how logical it is. But I just wanted it to be a meta film. I'm not gonna be honest. Just make it. I just wanted to get meta.
But you can't say I want every film to be the mockery of the real things. You have to appreciate the real things for making it happen. I wasn't expecting it. It happened. It happened and it followed the rules. And after us watching The Rise of Leslie Vernon, which I feel that Rise of Leslie Vernon gets to be a better film the more films I say that show it was right. It shows you that's what it was.
That film was a great. If you ever want to, like, The Rise of Leslie Vernon is something I'm going to reference, I think, for many, many years to come. Because it encapsulates the rules so well. But I'll be honest with you. I got to go with the low run here, man. Like, there was some interesting things, but man, that woman screaming was bothering the hell out of me. I was like, all right, I realized that halfway through the film, everything that I expect to happen is going to happen, and they're going to stick to the script. And I think that because of that, I have to give it a 1. Like there was with honorable mention, though it's a low score. I also talk about some cool stuff that I like, which again was like the auditory stuff was neat. But yeah, a 3, that's all right.
I say 3, man. I don't think it's 2 because I don't have to find somebody that specifically likes this genre. I think I could turn this movie on and a lot of people would like it.
I don't know. Like, everything that we like differ this extremely on. We should just note it to then get drunk and watch it together at some point.
That's
to
fair.
like
That's fair.
So that we both. So we then we'll
What
get
was
drunk
our
enough
other extreme?
through
What was our other
camaraderie,
extreme?
and we'll meet it at 2 when we're done watching it.
What's the other extreme that we had?
I don't think we've had. I think this is the first time we've been extreme. I think this is the first time that we're showing this with a 1 and a 3, which mine is a borderline egg. I almost gave it an egg.
It's not. It's nowhere near as that bad because you want it to be something. You can't.
I know.
You wanted it to be what other things were based on.
No. What it bothers me is that halfway through the film, I realized that they're really just going to do everything I expected to do. So now I have to start looking for interesting shots. Maybe there's some cool, like the plot's out because I already know what the plot is now. So it's like, all right, let me look at some interesting shots, acting, and it's like,
but there's no
salvage anything.
It starts off with this is inspired by a true story. A call was made this day because people were killed at this home, and the mystery is unsolved. They don't sugarcoat it at all.
Which one was the call? Wait, who made the call? By the way, in the film, was that the radio call?
No,
I
think it was the girl because she woke she was back alive and bleeding.
Oh yeah. The girl lived in this story, by the way, guys.
I don't know if she lived, but she was alive at that moment. I don't know if she lived.
I
just a simple question. So just
I'm out of beer. This is my official timer is when I run out of beer. That's the
so what was your favorite horror movie trope that you've seen in there? Go for rules and trope. Give me one each.
The trope was, hey, we need to leave, and their car is no longer able to move. Mm-hmm. Like, there's no way this car is moving. It was like, of course, that thing was broken down. I'd say the other interesting thing is, like, again, it being predictable made it kind of interesting. I knew exactly the scenes where the dude was going to pop up in it. But it was cool to still see it from, like you said, that angle they chose, which I guess you're referring to as the God's Eye. Mm-hmm. I would say that was because I think they did it like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah. And every time was really, really good.
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, I think the doll was the creepiest one, personally.
The doll face in the car, or when she was standing in the darkness?
Yeah, just like standing in the darkness, trees. I'm like, man. Oh, the rule. Mm-hmm. Oh, the closet is a safe haven.
And I thought that was so great. And after watching Leslie Vernon, seeing him talk about that and how sacred that the closet is, and the fact that I was like,
do you think we are heathens?
Like when the man in the mask came and just walked by it, and then Dollface came to it, and you're like, man, is Dollface gonna break in? She breaks it, but she still walks away. That's what makes a movie like Rise of Leslie Vernon good, because you have movies that do stuff like that very well.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
So that's what I say. It's a 1 for you, but it's always going to be a 3 for me, because I think I could always have been.
That's it. Just 2 questions.
Just 2 questions. And the only thing you said your favorite shot. No, I'm gonna say your favorite shot was the doll girl shot. So I don't even feel.
Oh no, that's not my favorite shot.
So what was your favorite shot then?
When the car was on fire.
When they came back out. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was like, ooh, okay, maybe he does know what he's doing. Mm-hmm. I was like, fire, and that also leads to more Leslie Vernon. Fire or water, bro. One or the other.
Yep.
It's never both. It's one or the other. Fire or water. Pick your poison. So, overall, it was just pretty vanilla. Man.
Yeah, but it was about the movie being hopeless. The movie started off saying that these people die. The mystery went unsolved. There wasn't anything that was supposed to give you hope.
There was zero twist.
It wasn't about twist. It told you what it's going to be, and if you chose to look otherwise,
I'm going to call it. It wasn't a home invasion horror. It was a straight edge horror. All right, it's a straight edge horror.
But that's fine to me. Like I think sometimes those are the best ones. If you do that, tell me how many people have done a home invasion that clean. It was clean. It was clean. Like I said, it's a cheese pizza, but it's a damn good one in my opinion.
But my favorite clever fuckery was when Homeboy slipped in, closed the fireplace vent.
Oh yeah, yeah.
House starts smoking up. She then has to open up the fire vent, pull down the fire alarm. All this so he can just easily that was like a 15-minute distraction to just snatch a phone out of the charger.
Right.
It was the most like elaborate distraction ever to
But it
just
worked.
grab someone's phone.
But
to then to grab someone's phone and toss it into said fire.
two things I'm gonna walk away with. I think I need to say is I feel like you're going through the movie that they were going through the stages of grief, because at the end, old boy didn't fight getting stabbed. That was acceptance. That was the final level of grief, the final stage of grief, and she was in denial right before that. And I like they were bargaining and everything like that. They went through the stages of grief even when they started from the beginning with everything that was going on with them. I looked at it like they were going through the stages of grief throughout the film, and then they finished with that acceptance, like there was nothing they can do. And I thought that was a really cool underlying thing. That's something I want to just throw out there, and I don't know if you saw it.
I could see that. I'm not trying to go for symbolism in this vanilla film. I'm sorry.
This
is a one scoop. Isn't even a two scoop.
But for
I got a
internet
waffle
again,
cone. If you can give me vanilla ice cream, can I get a waffle cone or something, man?
man, I'm all about really good vanilla ice cream. If the vanilla ice cream is banging, I'm with it.
He said what?
I'm with it. As a matter of fact, I don't like have ice cream from my ice cream shop unless I had their vanilla first.
Yeah, this is that classic. I must say that it was very vanilla, like baseline blueprint. You called it, straight edge.
So again, I say if I wanted to show somebody a home invasion film, I'd show them The Strangers.
Like closing moments, though. We did something cool last week that I think we should still keep going. Given the current events going on right now, if you were gonna talk to someone who's not yet a believer yet, what should you tell them?
A believer in what? Black Lives Matter, that we should matter out here.
Interpret the question however you wish.
It was you're not a believer. If NASCAR can put down Confederate flags, then you have to see that there's time for change.
Time for change.
Absolutely.
All right, folks. I do want to make sure we keep highlighting that as long as we need to in these days and times.
Maybe we just don't stop.
Peace, love, prosperity,
all that. Appreciate it.
No.